Hello everyone and welcome to my senior capstone project. My name is Trey Roudebush and today I will be presenting to you the Discovery Hub, a series of makerspaces designed for the Kosovo Leadership Academy to help students be able to discover, develop, and equip their skills. Many of you might see this space and know exactly what it is. Others may not. For those of you that don't know what this space is, it is a makerspace. It can also be called a hackerspace, a fab lab, or an innovation lab. There are many names for a space like this. This is also a makerspace, and so is this. While they all look very different, they all have one thing in common. They are all spaces made and designed for discovery, creativity, and making. They all look very different and can serve many different uses for the users. Put it simply, a makerspace is a collaborative workspace inside a school, library, or separate public/private facility for making, learning, exploring, and sharing that uses high-tech to no-tech tools. Hi, my name is Trey, and I love makerspaces. My love and passion for makerspaces first grew through some of the experiences that I had in middle school. When I wasn't in school, I was at home designing and building whatever my mind could come up with. From gravity-powered carts me and my dad built, to pneumatic engines, to building 3D printers, CNC routers, and even laser cutters. It was through these experiences that I discovered what a makerspace was, and I instantly fell in love. A place with the tools, space, and knowledgeable people who could help me come up with whatever I could think of. Sign me up. Their problem was that most makerspaces were out of my reach. They were either too far away or cost too much money to be members. Something, as a 14-year-old, I didn't have. So I immediately went to my school and begged them to start a makerspace. But instead of encouraging me for my creativity, they quickly discouraged me and dismissed the idea entirely. It was at this point that I told myself that I would help students with similar desires and interests to be encouraged and have access to the resources that I didn't have. This set me on a journey that I'm still on today and I will talk to you about. Welcome to the Discovery Hub, a set of makerspaces designed for the Kosovo Leadership Academy. To begin, we'll run through a brief overview of this project. My project consists of 4 phases. Phase 1, which consists of research. Phase 2, which is the development of the resources that I collected during the research. Phase 3, which is ideating on ideas and solutions that I have for this space. And Phase 4, which is the creation of the space. For those of you that are unfamiliar with makerspaces, we will now look at some of the many benefits of makerspaces and hear from those that are most affected by these spaces, which are those that are running them, the teachers. According to Chris O'Brien, founder of the Lower Bay Learners Guild, as a rule of thumb, project-based learning and school makerspaces work much better as tools to motivate students than any marble jar, point system, or promise of pizza ever could. One of the first comments from any teacher or guidance counselor who spends time inside a makerspace is how well student Y is understanding, focusing, or behaving on the project in front of him or her. He then goes on to say that kids are learning how to think entrepreneurially and develop skills that are going to be invaluable. It's like training them today for jobs that don't exist yet. Letting them work in makerspaces is the best thing that we can do to teach them some of the skills that are going to help them to be successful wherever they end up. Spring Hill School District introduced makerspaces into their curriculum and have found that it helps spark students' interest in STEM, or science, technology, engineering, and math, and led to an increase in students finding jobs in STEM, and their STEM job placement is now twice as high as the national average. Classrooms can also play a major role in educating students. Tilden Career Community Academy also introduced a makerspace at their school and saw that it helped grow attendance and led to an increase in graduation rates over the course of just 4 years. Another method of learning that is taking the education world by storm is active learning. Active learning is an instructional approach in which students take an active and fully engaged role in their education, rather than sitting passively and absorbing information. There are many examples of active learning, such as student inquiry, where students are more engaged with the content and are asking questions. Discussion and debate, where students are participating in conversations about the topics that are being taught. Creating and composing, where students are using what they have been taught to be able to express themselves and bring new things into the world. Collaboration, which is a skill that is heavily requested by many employers where students are working together on projects. And project-based learning, where students learn by putting their skills into practice and completing projects rather than taking tests, much like how the school I attended, the International Center for Creativity, operates. There are many benefits to makerspaces and active learning, some of which are higher student engagement. It helps build 21st century skills such as critical thinking, creativity, leadership, and social skills. Over 80% of teachers say that it improves students' outcomes. Students in traditional classrooms are 1.5 times more likely to fail. And finally, it helps build collaboration, which is a very highly requested skill by employers. Another theory that helps support the idea of makerspaces is constructivism. Constructivism is an approach to learning that holds that people actively construct or make their own knowledge, and that reality is determined by the experiences of the learner. This essentially states that students learn best when they are in charge of how they learn, and that they learn best from creating experiences and memories, rather than trying to just memorize information. Another area I looked into was how learning gaps can affect students' education and the different forms that they can take. Learning gaps can be divided into 5 different groups: knowledge, skills, motivation, environmental, and communication. The knowledge gap is when students do not know or were not exposed to the correct information. The skills gap is when students have not had the practice necessary to develop common skills. The motivation gap is when students lack the motivation to advance their knowledge or skills. The environmental gap is when students lack an environment conducive to learning. And finally, communication is when students experience breakdown in communication. Additionally, I also research how students learn throughout their childhood years. The sensorimotor stage starts from birth to 2nd grade, and in this stage, the infant knows the world through their movements and sensations. We then move into the pre-operational stage, which is from ages 2 to 7. At this stage, children begin to think symbolically and learn how to use words and pictures to represent objects. From there, we move into the concrete operational stage, which is from ages 7 to 11, and during this stage, children begin to think logically about concrete events. And finally, the formal operational stage, which are ages 12 and up. And at this stage, the adolescent or young adults begin to think abstractly and reason about hypothetical problem, and abstract thought emerges. My focus, however, was on the ages of 7 past 12, since my project was mostly about students in kindergarten through high school. My next step in my journey was to figure out where this makerspace could be housed. I was given the opportunity to work with the Kosovo Leadership Academy, or KLA for short. The ICC, or International Center for Creativity, has had a partnership with the KLA since 2015, and since then they have sent many teams to help out at the school. The KLA is in Kosovo, which is located in the Balkans region of Europe, and is a very newly established country, only declaring its independence in 2008 following the war that occurred in 1999. The KLA is a STEAM, or Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math, college preparatory school that exists to improve communities by developing young people who learn, live, and lead with excellence. The country is very small in size, only taking up about 1/4 of the size of Ohio. I actually had the opportunity to go to Kosovo and serve at the Kosovo Leadership Academy this past semester with some of my classmates, and was able to meet many of the students that would be using this space, and it was very beneficial for me to be able to see why a space like this is needed. From there, I then went on to research about Kosovo, and I found that about 1/4 of the country are under the age of 15, with half the country being under the age of 29, and over 1/4 of the country is still unemployed. From this, I was able to find my project statement. In what ways can a space be designed to establish and build critical problem-solving skills in KLA K-12 students to equip them with the skills needed to help develop and build the surrounding areas in Kosovo, while promoting and bringing awareness to the Kosovo Leadership Academy? From there, I then moved on to the development stage, where I began to interview experts. I interviewed teachers in the field, such as Andrew Bruning and Andreas Corbin, who are 2 teachers at the PASS Foundation, as well as teachers from the KLA about their needs and what I should include in the space. I also interviewed experts in the field, from architects such as Tim Hunsinger, who taught our interior design and is a trained architect, as well as design researchers such as John Spencer, who has written many books and articles about active learning and the benefits of makerspaces. I found from my interviews that there were 3 very important things I should include. 1, modularity and adaptability. That is, that the space should be able to be changed to fit the needs of the class or the project. And 2, the space should be able to have a wide variety of uses and be embedded in all the classes. That is, the English class should use the space just as much as the math class and be able to find uses for it to be able to engage and allow the students to have a more active learning environment. I then also found that dividing up the space, such as by grade, is very beneficial to be able to have students be able to work in a space that is custom tailored to the stage that they're in of development. After talking with the staff at the KLA, the spaces that I was given were room 105 to construct the elementary makerspace, room 205, which is right above the elementary makerspace and is the same footprint other than the removal of a bathroom, and finally room 305 for the high school, which is the same layout as the middle school room, except it doesn't have the bathroom that's featured in the elementary school classroom. In order to help guide my design efforts, I generated many how might we questions based around the goals of my project. The 3 that I chose to focus on were: how might we use a space to help fill the gap in K-12? How might we design a space that motivates learning? And finally, how might we design classrooms that offer flexible learning environments? I then transformed those into my design guidelines, which helped me to be able to define what a successful project would look like. I really wanted the students to 1, be more involved in their education, 2, be inspired and encouraged, 3, create a multifunctional space for a variety of purposes, 4, equip and prepare students, 5, build critical problem-solving skills, and 6, help the students be able to build and develop the surrounding areas in Kosovo. In order for me to understand the spaces that I was working with, and based on my research on classroom and makerspace design, I divided each classroom into 3 main areas that would help benefit the students using that space the most. The elementary school makerspace consists of a teaching area, a library, and a making area, while the middle school makerspace consists of a teaching area, a computer lab to help them build technology skills, and a making area, and the high school follows with the computer lab to help them continue to build those technology skills while having a making area, and instead of a teaching area, it includes an individual working area with offices to help them be able to prepare for job interviews as well as be able to work on team and group projects. For the color, material, and finishes for the classrooms, I was inspired by natural materials that would help students to know where they are and use colors to help them divide up the spaces. For the blue, it represents the elementary school, the yellow represents the middle school, and the red represents the high school. I then also sought inspiration by using a variety of materials such as wood, reflective metals, and glass. As you can see, I also tried to have everything fit into the school theme by having the CMF board be a whiteboard where students are able to draw on it. To start the ideation process, I took my architectural program and began creating bubble diagrams to understand how the space will function and work with one another. I went through many ideas, each one building off of each other, finally ending up with the one that you can see in blue. I then follow the same process for the middle school makerspace, except adding that computer lab in instead of the library and lounge, and the final one you can see is featured in yellow. And for the high school one, I follow the same process as before, except I include those 2 offices for teamwork and preparing for interviews, and the final one can be seen in red. This is the final floor plan for the elementary school, with the library being in the top right, the making area being in the top left along with the bathroom, and the whole bottom area being the teaching area. The final floor plan for the middle school, with the computer lab being on the top right and the prototyping / making area being in the bottom right, and the whole left half being the teaching area. And finally, the final floor plan for the high school, with the 2 offices that I featured being in the top left, the computer lab being in the top right, and the prototyping making area being on the bottom left, which can be changed since all the desks are on wheels. The last step in this process was creating the makerspaces. To begin, we'll start with the elementary school. This is Stuart. He is currently in the 2nd grade at the KLA and struggles with staying motivated, and is currently in the concrete operational development stage and needs a space that allows him to be able to stay motivated. I sought inspiration from some of the current elementary school classrooms and makerspaces available to be able to gain a wide variety of ideas about what my space could look like. The elementary school makerspace is housed in room 105 and is featured in phase 2 of the school. Now let's take a tour of the KLA and see where this classroom would be featured. You can see the prominent branding on the front of the building, showing some of the characteristics and attitudes that the KLA tries to instill on its students, such as integrity, excellence, and responsibility. We're now entering the leadership hall where Bahram is waving at us, one of the security guards at the KLA. This is the leadership hall where many of the classrooms and areas are connected. To the left we have the gym, while the cafeteria and library are featured to the right. Now we're in the central area of the KLA with a stairwell that features the entire area, and now we'll head into room 105 to see what the elementary school makerspace might look like. This is an overview of the elementary school makerspace, where students are really encouraged to discover and to be able to explore a wide variety of topics to be able to find what their passion truly is. It consists of a prototyping/making area where students are able to explore and experiment and learn by doing, as we saw in constructivism. The next area is a library/lounge area where students are able to read and be able to expand their knowledge. And here's a shot of both the making area and the lounge area to show how they interact with one another and how a student can quickly go from reading about something to experimenting and seeing how it applies in the real world in the making area. The last stop in the elementary school makerspace is the teaching area, where teachers are able to give overviews for the day and where students are able to store their personal items and belongings in the cubbies on the left. Now we'll head up to the 2nd floor to learn more about the middle school makerspace. This is Olivia. She is currently in the 9th grade and is about to finish her middle school journey, since high school is only 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in Kosovo, and she really wants a space where she is able to learn more to be able to gain a wide variety of experiences. She is in a formal operational development stage and has begun to think more abstractly and needs a space where she can learn a wide variety of topics. I again sought inspiration by looking at some of the current middle school classrooms and makerspaces available currently, and was able to find some floor layouts and furniture that would work well for it. The middle school makerspace would be housed in room 205. Now we'll head our way up to the 2nd floor, going into the central stairwell, leaving room 105, and heading up to room 205, where the middle school makerspace would be. Welcome to the middle school makerspace, where students will explore and learn more about whatever topics that they choose to explore in. It features a computer lab where students will be able to build skills in technology and learn many software programs that are standard nowadays. The teaching area where students are able and encouraged to work with one another on many of the projects that they have. The making area where students are able to invent and prototype with whatever tools they desire. We can see here that there's a student working on a 3D printer, and he's able to build hard skills as well as soft skills such as communication when working with other people on the project and communicating what some of the problems might be. And it also features plenty of whiteboard space for students to be able to draw up their ideas, sketch out some visuals that they may have, and explain things to many of the fellow students. Finally, we'll travel to the 3rd floor to be able to see what a space might look like for the high school. This is Cassie. She is about to graduate and wants to continue the passion that she discovered while at the KLA, which is biology, and really needs a space where she can learn and be equipped for her future career in biology. Again, I sought inspiration from some current high school classrooms and makerspaces, and this is where I really got the idea for the offices, since many schools employ them, and it helps students to be able to have a space they can call their own, as well as work on group projects and have a space where they can prepare for job interviews. The high school makerspace would be housed in room 305. Now let's head out of the middle school makerspace and head up to the high school makerspace, which is in room 305 on the 3rd floor, passing by many of the other classrooms that the middle school uses. You can also see the prominent blue paint on the walls, which represents that you're on the 3rd floor, since they have many different colors to represent the 3rd floors and track the progress throughout the development of the students at the KLA. You can also see the exposed brick and very exposed concrete floors. The 3rd floor currently is not finished at the KLA, and they're currently seeking funding and grants to be able to finish this space out. Now let's head into room 305, where the high school makerspace could be housed. Welcome to the high school makerspace, where students will be equipped in whatever career they choose. It features a computer lab to help them to continue to build the technology skills that they started in the middle school makerspace, as well as whiteboard space to the left. And plenty of desks where they're able to be moved and bulletin boards to be able to stay organized. As well as conference rooms for job interviews and to work on group projects together. And it looks like these students are preparing for their next business and are creating their business model canvas. In addition to the makerspace, I designed a workshop for those projects that may be too big for a classroom or may require some additional tools. It could be housed where the music room currently is and is on the 1st floor in phase 1 of the school. Now let's head our way to the workshop. Exiting Leadership Hall, passing the library and cafeteria that's on the left, waving to one of the fellow teachers at the KLA, and making our way into what could be the workshop. It could feature a wide variety of tools such as laser cutters, sewing machines, and various 3D printers, as well as big butcher block tables to be able to work on projects that have plenty of storage and wheeled carts for drills, hammers, and screwdrivers. It also has storage for projects along the wall, as well as a fully functioning wood shop with a table saw, bandsaw, joiner, planer, CNC router, drill press, and a miter saw station. To recap, let's see if I accomplished my design guidelines. 1. By creating a space that is used for projects where students are able to choose what they are learning, they're able to be more involved in their education. 2. By creating a space that uses innovation, technology, and very advanced furniture, students are able to have more choice and will be more motivated. It is a multifunctional space because everything is on wheels and can be moved. And 4, it features innovative tech and areas for students to prepare for jobs and create businesses. 5, it helps them build critical problem-solving skills such as teamwork and communication. And 6, all of this will be able to help students to be able to build and develop the surrounding areas in Kosovo. I hope that through this journey you are able to learn more about learning and see how a space can impact and affect learning. Now I encourage you to go out and be inspired and create something. Thank you for listening to my presentation and what the future of learning could look like at the Kosovo Leadership Academy.